Now let's move on to this U shape over here. Once again, we're going to be replicating it to this empty workspace. And here we have the starter line, which represents the lower left corner. Now let's start by drawing the front view. And let's start with this baseline over here. Now this baseline is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares to the right. If it helps, always mark it with a dot and then draw your construction line. Now let's move on to this vertical line. This vertical line is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares up. You could mark the end of the line with a dot if it helps, and then draw your light construction line. Remember that construction lines have to be always as light as possible, as at this stage we are only drawing lines which form part of our working. Now let's move on to the other line, which is, as you can see, equal to the other line, so it's 4 squares high. Now let's draw these two horizontal lines at the top, starting from these corners. So this line is 1 square to the left, and this other one is 1 square to the right. And to draw this inner U right here, we have to go down 1, 2, 3 squares downwards from this point. So go ahead and draw your construction line, 2 squares from the end of that line to the right. And now let's connect the last 2 points. And then we would have our front view of this oblique shape ready. Now let's move on to the 45-degree angled lines. Now the thickness of this shape is 2 squares from lower left to upper right corner. So let's go ahead and draw that line. And let's do the same with the others, as the thickness, of course, is the same throughout the whole shape. Now here I made a mistake. If you see that you have made certain lines which are not aligned with your grid, then please erase them and redo them. Make sure that each and every line is aligned according to your grid. So let's continue by drawing the end view of our U shape. And now let's continue with the plan. Now let's move on to these 2 lines over here. Each of them is 2 diagonal squares up. Now let's connect these 2 points right here to have a full end view of our U shape. Now let's complete these 2 horizontal lines at the back. Now, since this is a 3-dimensional shape, you're going to have certain lines which you're going to only see just a part of them, like this line over here. So this line is going to be just 2 squares downwards, the rest is hidden. And then we have this inner line, which shows us the corner of this inner U. So let's go ahead and draw that. So let's start from this corner, count 2 squares, and then draw a light line. Now our oblique U shape is finished. Now let's darken the outlines. Now, of course, remember, when drawing the outlines, make sure to only darken the appropriate lines, which belong to the final shape. Do not darken any other lines. Now let's move on to shading. Remember that when shading, the front view has to be green. Whatever you see from the plan view is going to be shaded in red, and whatever you're going to see from the side view, which is the end, you have to shade that in blue.